All right, everyone. Welcome back to another awesome conversation here at Automotive Anatomy Podcast. And today we have a wonderful guest, this gentleman I've met. Man, another Honda Society dude that I met through the forum. And then the first time, if I'm not mistaken, the first time I met you, I saw your car at the Cali Accord meet, and I finally put a face to the car. And at the time, you were by far the lowest car I had ever seen, driven, static. And I was like, how the hell this guy drives his car? And you took a lot of pride in that. And from that, I got a lot of motivation. So without any further ado, Mr. DJ, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for making the time for us, man.
Yeah, no worries. Now, let me ask you. So, when you say you met me at Cali Accord meet, was this before the kit or after the kit?
You had the kit.
I had the kit,
Yeah.
the student kit. Okay, okay, yeah. So, yeah, it was pretty low just because it sat so low. But I felt that it was only low because for automatic transmission Accords, that transmission sits equal with that center crossbar. So whenever I would hit something, that's all I'd hear is crossbar, transmission, exhaust, everything else. But those side skirts were just flat. They had holes about like this big, just from all the fiberglass being missing. But yeah, good times, dude. All the back-breaking freeway trips to all the car shows, especially in San Pedro. But I missed it, so that's why
Wouldn't
I'm
have
back.
any other way. Now we're getting old and we don't want that no
Yeah, and the crazy thing is like looking back, what that was 2011, 2012, right?
more.
Almost 10 years ago, right?
Wow. When you say
Which,
it like that, holy shoot.
yeah, 10 years really. And you'd be like, you know what, F it, I'm just gonna go to this meet, San Diego, I'm going down to 5. I don't care how low my car is, just bouncing around everywhere, whatever suspension you got. And then now that we're getting older, I'm like, you know what? Comfort's a big thing, you know? Like going from coilovers to bags, like sure, bags are cool and all, but they're not as comfortable as I thought they would be.
Really?
Yeah. And I've experimented with so many different types, and I feel like going back to coilovers with proper height, proper dampening, you can't replace that.
Mhm.
Like I had airlift on my Infiniti way back when, and that was full setup that I did. I was like, you know what, do it once, do it right, like Ralph says. And even that was like it felt like a boat. It would kind of rock back and forth, and even then, like it would make me feel nauseous every once in a while. So I still had to play with dampening just to get it at that right like preload in a way.
But did you have any experience with any of your homies with like a newer chassis with bags and things like that? Did you feel that way, or did you just never had that
Yeah, yeah,
experience?
yeah. So when I had the Odyssey, that was using bags technology from like the 90s, which was like you would take a strut with basically a sleeve style bag, put your OEM top hat on it, and slap it on the car. And whatever you had, if that shock rate was okay or not, that's the quality of ride you would get. But when I got it from my Infiniti, brand new car off the lot, I bagged it with at the time the newest stuff, where
Mhm.
you pull it on your phone or whatever. I was like, you know what? There's no way that this is going to be uncomfortable. But I think for like the first 3 weeks of me just figuring out that car, I destroyed my quarter panels. I had it like, way too high, where it's too high of a preload, but the car was probably like 4 inches high off the ground with like 4x4 trucks, and then did the opposite, it would be too low, so there wouldn't be enough spring travel, and it was a nightmare just to figure it out. But I mean, thankfully, I had shops that would guide me along the way of finding out what's the right way to do things. But still, like it wasn't as plug and play as I thought it would be after paying X many dollars for it.
Because I remember, I don't remember the year, but I remember like you were at work and then you did a little diagram. I think you were piecing the bag setup for the van, if I'm not mistaken. It's been that long. And so my question to you is, besides all of this headache, I mean, were you having fun, or you can be honest and be like, no, I was not having fun trying to figure all this out?
Like I growing up, I have a thing for puzzles. I like puzzles. I like Legos. Like Legos are my big thing right now. So anything that requires me to assemble something, I like it. So me trying to piece together the best air setup that I could with the budget I had back then, it was fun for me. But when things take a turn and they don't work out right, I'm like, okay, gotta go back to the drawing board. And then before I know it, I'm already double my amount of my budget when I could have gone the right way the first time. You know, so I guess I'm paying for the lesson in a way, like the knowledge and experience behind it, instead of just I'm buying this, throwing it at a shop, and then letting them deal with it. You know, but
So in a way, you are enjoying the process. I mean, I, I don't think I've ever heard anybody really say, "Yeah, I was so excited when things didn't work out." You know, like so.
yeah,
But the process of it, because I'm not a meticulously detail oriented like you. I'm more of a, if I can buy a kit, I'd rather do that
yeah,
than to piece bags, compressor from two different companies and putting it, because I know myself. I'm not good at that. I'm gonna order the wrong thing.
yeah. But I think like with the Odyssey, it was like I had no other choice, because back then there was no options at all for that, you know? Like once I figured out that the front half of the Odyssey was like 90% of a regular Accord, I was like, all right, cool, I can use Accord Civic Integra struts up front, because it's just a matter of what lower forks I would use and what top hat I would use, because it's all interchangeable. And when it came to the rear, I was like, you know what? It's an independent suspension. What can I do to put something in the back? So you had to have brackets made, throw a bag in there, and find some way of trying to dampen the rear shocks, or else as soon as you air it down, it's just going to blow the OEM shock. So in a way, I feel like I had to buy coilovers, experiment with coilovers first, and then make a hybrid system of coilovers with bags afterwards, just to make it work for the rest.
Sounds like a headache.
Because I played around with being static, because back at our age back then, 2012, 2013, I was still at that effort. I don't care, I want to be low as hell with the lowest van. So I asked my friends at Megan Racing at the time, what can I do to make this lower? Because I think the Megan Racing shocks that I had on the Odyssey, it would sit like almost an inch higher than the tire, and I was like, I didn't like that. The hella flushing was still big back then. I wanted to be -8 camber, wrecking tires left and right. So I was like, you know what? Give me Miata shocks. Miata shocks were like an inch shorter, and it did the job.
Wow.
It did the job. It was comfortable, but then I think like 3 weeks into it, parking the car in the van in the garage, I smelled gas. I had punctured a hole probably about the size of a quarter in the front of the tank. So when I would air up, all the gas would go to the back so it wouldn't leak. But as soon as I air it down, all the gas would puke out, in front. So I
Wow.
can't do this
Sketchy.
no more. And then so I had to go back. So I was like, that's the only way for me to have a comfortable ride like this. And that's also the time when I got the Mutant kit. And I was like, this is a gift from Tommy. I don't want to let him down by destroying this kit. I need to protect it somehow. So
Mm,
the only way to drive it like I park it is by airing up.
yeah. And for those that are maybe wondering what Odyssey, RA1 first generation Honda Odyssey, right?
Yeah. First gen Odyssey, which is basically just a swollen up Accord. It has the same engine, same front suspension, same firewall. Everything up from the front seats up was basically the same thing as an Accord. And then they just made their own rear shell, added rear independent shocks, and they created the family minivan.
If the core wasn't bulky enough, let's make it bulkier.
Exactly. Like, and when the first Accord was totaled, you know, the thing that would have made sense is me to just to go into a wagon, because essentially an Odyssey was a bigger wagon. It had the lift gate. Instead of 5 seats, it had 7 seats, and it was the same suspension geometry. But I think at that time, I still wanted to be a little bit different, and I didn't want to linger on the fact that I just lost my first Accord from the accident. I want to start something fresh, something new, and it was either between an Odyssey or an EK hatch. And I think I went through Honda Society the other day just to look at miscellaneous threads, and I came across an old one. And after I saw the accident, I was like, yeah, I'll build an EK hatch. And I put this like build list of everything I wanted to do back in like 2013, not knowing that I did everything I wanted to do for that car last year when I built that. And it was just like, wow, like my sense of style, my taste of style hasn't changed in the last 10 years.
That's
So
crazy, man. No, yeah, I mean, you did the sin of going and buying a Civic, even though we gave you a lot of heat for it. And we'll get to that because obviously, for those listeners, they know that they can hear it. Like you've been through quite a bit of chassis, and so let's take it back a notch though. Before we even started playing with big boy toys, take us back when you were playing with those little Legos and stuff. Like, where were you born? How were you in school? What gets you mad? What gets you upset? What gets you happy? Talk to us, man.
so I was born here in Ontario, not too far from where I live now. Small city off the 60 freeway. Uh, Big time nerd, chubby Asian kid. Parents had the highest expectations, especially being the only kid. They're like, you got to do this, you got to do that. If you don't do this, you're not going to make it. And they put that fear in my head, like, hey, you better succeed in some sort of way so you can survive, because I have no other siblings to depend on. So they would throw me in tutoring all the time, Legos, anything like to keep my brain active.
Mhm.
They would do instead of watching TV, instead of video games. I was that kid that had that curfew where it's like 6 o'clock happens, the TV would lock. So I wouldn't be able to watch anything like Simpsons or whatever unless I had permission to. If I
Mhm.
finished stuff. But I mean, doing like puzzles and Legos and stuff, like I guess kind of sparked my creativity into car stuff, because that's the majority of Legos I would buy is car stuff. And I remember I would have like this giant box of just mess. It would just be a mess of Legos, like everything mixed up, and I would just dig through that thing for hours to make something. And I would make the basic shape in a basic car, and I would think it's the coolest thing ever. And I would add like a tow hitch to the back, make it a tow truck, or add a trailer with a boat, or a helicopter. And I would think it's the coolest thing. And looking back at how Legos were before and how they are now is insane. Like I frequent the Lego store now a lot, and you would see like models of like Ferraris or Porsches or Ducatis, and they're like 1/8 scale, 1/6 scale, and they're so detailed out down to like the transmission and engine. And yeah, you pay kind of a big buck for it, but the creativity that goes to that expert level of Legos is insane compared to the little creator builder blocks that you get as a 7 or 8 year old. So that's where I started from this. I guess that's where my car hobby started coming from, this from Legos, because I would be like, oh yeah, one day I want to buy a tow truck. That way I can just tow whatever cars I have when I get older. So I would have a thing for anything that's like a big rig or semi truck. I would never be really into like the Harry Potter stuff as much as I would read their books and all, but that wouldn't be really my passion. But aside from that, it would be Hot Wheels too. Like
Those are
the
coming back.
yeah, the Mattel store used to be, I was like 20 minutes on the 60 freeway down the street from here, like in Pomona. And my parents would use that incentive, like, oh, if you got an A or a B on your test, we'll get you a Hot Wheel. And it started my collection from there. And then little by little, it turns into like an obsession with all these things here and back here and whatnot.
Yeah, it's
But
nostalgic though, man.
yeah. It really brought me back to my roots, because it's just like, this is what I grew up with, this is what I'm familiar with. Now it's just I'm uncovering the next level of when you become like a collector. You know what I mean?
Now that the funds are there, like you can definitely go wild at a specific toy that you want or something. Like you're gonna go out there and look for it.
Yeah, and I forgot who mentioned this to me. It was one of my buddies. He said that when you're young, you have all the time in the world, but no funds to do your hobby. But when you get older, you have all the funds in the world to do your hobby, but no time, And pre-COVID, I would find myself like that, I'd be just working 9 to 5, come home, eat dinner, nap, relax, and then on the weekends, if I had a project to work on a car or whatever, I would work on it then. But once COVID hit, everyone's telecommunicating, working from home. I work really efficiently, so an 8-hour workday would be like 2.5 hours for me. So 5.5 hours.
I hope your boss doesn't see this, man. What? I'm done at 8. What do you mean? I'm done at 8.
Yeah. So they can't pay you for efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
They expect you to put out 8 hours worth of work, but if I can knock it out in 2.5 hours, I'll do it. But
so what else did you kind of dab into when you were like, I'm done with work?
So building that EK was one thing, and I think that's the first time I've ever dived deep into engine stuff besides exterior mods, because anyone can put a bumper on, anyone can put suspension on, but when it comes to like doing an actual engine swap from start to finish, that was my first rodeo.
Gotcha. Okay, so then that's like that was like last year. So because you're very young, you look young too, and so the fact that you've had so many different type of builds is pretty cool. Like it seems like you like tinkering, you like moving along different chassis, except that the MZ, you won't let it go. I think that one's like we'll get to that one. And so then, are your parents immigrants or were they first generation?
Yeah, so they're immigrants. They're immigrants here.
Because you mentioned that a couple of times, and it's not that they mean it in a bad way. Like, well, you gotta go to school. If now you're not gonna be successful, it's like that's the immigrant mentality. Like, go work hard. What do you call it? Make sure that you take advantage of this education, and then go get a career that hopefully you enjoy and make good money, and that way you don't have to depend on anybody, especially as a only child.
Yeah, because it's like my parents have this mentality where it's like they'll line up all the steps that I could take, and if I take them, that'll theoretically lead me to success. And I'm very blessed to have parents that set me up like that. And my parents are the type of people where it's like one way isn't the only way. They always have a plan B, they have a plan C, they have a plan D. If all else fails, what would you do? And they kind of set me up for that. So like growing up, yeah, I was pretty smart during like middle school, high school, but when I got into university, it was like the biggest culture shock for me because
okay, that's interesting.
It was a different how do I say it? Like it was like a different perspective.
If I may ask, what high school did you go to?
So in my city, Eleanor Roosevelt was a brand new school that they had just built in this school district. So I was, I think, I was the first senior class to graduate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think in a way, since that school was still being tested out, a lot of the curriculum was kind of like a test curriculum. We were like guinea pigs, So I don't know how, like, not intense, but how
rigorous, challenging.
How challenging it could have been, and me being distracted with getting my license, doing car stuff. I met Honda Society guys like my senior year of high school, so I wouldn't really take college so seriously until my first year, where I'm just like, okay, I got to get my stuff together.
Did you transfer straight to a 4-year?
Yeah, so I went straight from high school to a 4-year. I went to UC Riverside. I enrolled in the biochemistry.
I can't even pronounce that, dude. That's like super smart. I went to education. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I did that in my first year. I went in overconfident, and then I think I got my first like C- or D.
Reality check.
Whole world shattered. I was like, bro, what happened? I can't bring this home. I'm gonna get disowned, the Asian and unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue with biochem because it didn't suit me right. So I like psychology. I like the study of people. I like the study of minds.
Mhm.
So I ended up doing anthropology, but the medical side. So I would investigate why people get diseases, why people in certain countries are more susceptible to being sick versus others. Like why Asian people get Asian flu. Like it's different from region to region, and I would study like that. But my mom at the time, she would be like, "What would you do with that degree? Like, is there any workplace for you to do that?" And I'm like, "Professor at university," and she's like, "Do you even like talking in front of people?" I personally, I don't. I hate public speaking. I hate presentations. It makes me
So,
nervous.
so being a professor may not be the best choice.
Yeah, exactly. So she's like, you know what? Like, just come work with me at the lab. See if you like it or not, and we'll go from there. So I worked with my mom for a bit at a chemistry lab, making like cosmetics.
Mhm.
So I make cosmetics, makeup, shampoos, lotions, all that type of stuff. And I guess at first I didn't like it because I ruined my summer. I wouldn't go hang out with my friends. I would actually just go work to make money. But after a while, I started to get a hang of things, and I'm like, you know what? I actually kind of like this. I kind of like solving problems and issues of what if this shampoo is like too watery, or what if this lotion is too thick? How do I problem solve that? And that kind of ties to my, you know, tinkering when I was younger. Like, oh, how do I solve an issue? Like, and I realized that problem solving is one thing I really like to do. So I stuck with that industry. I'm still in that industry, thankfully now. I don't work with my mom anymore because when you work with family, you kind of clash heads. But it's that beginning growing piece is what kind of established my foundation into this. And yeah, I finished college and I went straight to work, and I like what I do now. So
That's
now
awesome.
I'm a scientist at another company.
God damn, I'm a scientist. That sounds so gangster. I love it, dude.
They asked me like, "Oh, so what degree do you have?" I'm like, "Medical anthropology," and they're like, "What? You didn't do chemistry?" And I'm like, "I took the course, but I don't have that degree." You know, and I think that just goes to show that whatever you study in college doesn't mean that's what you should necessarily work for. They give you these options in college to expand your mindset. Like you study what you want in college, and then you use that to your advantage when you make your resume. Like, hey, look, even though I'm a so and so major, I'm interested in this, and I'm willing to take steps A, B, and C to prove to you that I'm willing to get into this. So I think not once has anyone questioned my degree when they see all the content of what I've done in the background for my resume to get hired at another lab, you know? So
And there's a bigger piece to that. The fact that you're not afraid to pivot. I mean, you were going for biochem, and some people still continue to go to biochem even if they don't like it because they want to please. This is not an Asian thing. This is, there's a lot of people that different backgrounds that go and do that. Like, oh, my parents are in law, so I guess I'm going to be another partner. I got to go into law. They absolutely hate it, and they don't have the courage to say, "I'm going to pivot. I don't want to do this." And so
yeah,
that's really important that you pivot into something that you enjoy.
yeah, and I think getting over that fear of pivoting and trying to convince my parents that hey, this is my move was one of the biggest hurdles of my entire life. Is to get my parents to understand like, hey, look, like even though I'm going to graduate with something else, that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on what I have on the background. You know, so they're very happy that even though I finished, I'm doing very well in the industry that I'm at because they see how successful that it could be. Anyone's gonna be makeup no matter what, whether you're pretty or ugly or you gotta you gotta shower every day, right? So there's gonna be a market for that. So no matter what, I hopefully have a job, but I think it's pretty secure.
Yeah.
So,
And well, I mean, the word success. So it's a weird. To me, it's a weird word because um, I think society has this idea that success is, oh, you're doing this lavishly job with a lavishly title plus
yeah,
this lavishly income. And I'm like, no, to me, success is being able to go and enjoy I'm gonna say 80% of the job, because I don't think there's anybody out there that enjoys 100% of their job. Even professional athletes, they have to work out when they don't feel like it. They have to travel. They have to be away from family and holidays. Sure, they're amazing and they're like on TV and peak performers, and that's a job. I think that's the mental aspect, the toll on it. So I think that you nailed it. You feel successful because you're able to, you're good at what you do. You enjoy it, and then you drive home and now tinker with toys. Like that's success. That's it. Like
Yeah, and thankfully now, like I've worked enough to the point where they're flexible with my hours. I like working early in the morning and coming home early because I have the whole afternoon to do whatever I want. So they're flexible with my hours. Flexible when I come in, my vacation time, and I have time now to do my hobbies in the afternoon. I don't want to do it during the summertime because it's hot as heck, but
especially in Ontario.
Yeah. But after October until like March, no problem. I want to build something. Let's go to the garage. No mosquitoes, no problems. But now it's just go inside the house, turn on the AC, and
just plan it. But wait, October is coming.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously you definitely have that hardworking mentality and work ethic from your parents, especially as immigrants. Like they appreciate things that we have here, and you took full satisfaction and privilege of the education that you had. So during those times, I know from my end, my mom, before she doesn't tell me anything anymore. So, it's always been my money, but sometimes it's almost like, why are you wasting so much money on this damn freaking old car? And I would say, I don't know, I just like it. So now she's, doesn't even know what I buy or don't buy. She knew because I would have like the jet lines the first time I brought them in. I had them in the room for like the longest. So she's like, why are those rims there? But meanwhile, you're trying to tinker with cars. When was your first car? What age?
So my old Accord, my family was the first owner. My dad bought it back in '96 from
Wow.
And then he used that for daily work to commute from here to Victorville every day.
Ooh,
so
that's far.
I got it, high mileage. And then I think a work truck had backed into the front fender. And then he got a Nissan Frontier, so he used that for work instead. So that car just sat and rotted. So when I turned 16 to get me ready to start driving, the dad's like, you know what? Let me put the fender, let me replace the fender, I'll paint the car, and then good luck. So that was his gift to me to say, hey, you can start driving now. So when I took it to school, I met a whole bunch of my friends that had Civics and Integras, and they're like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. So I would slap on a cone filter, and then on the stock intake arm, I remember like, oh, you can make it more like performance-wise by sticking a Gatorade cap when you take out one of the resonators. So I tried doing it, it worked. So you had a poor man intake. Great for a little bit until I got whatever the
what?
the Pep Boy special where it's the silver Spectre arm. Yeah. So I have one of those, and yeah, the Accord was technically one owner because
it's in your family.
Yeah, it was in the family, and I did the title transfer when I turned 18, and yeah, that was it. And I think that's what sparked my love for the chassis so much, is because I grew up in that car.
Did you like the car? I mean, aside from the nostalgic feel, do you actually like the car?
Yeah, I actually liked it. Yeah, because since I grew up in it, like I remember all the trips we would take to San Diego, go to SeaWorld. I remember like going through the drive-through car washes, as damaging to the paint as it was. Like that would be fun for me,
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that when I finally got the car, I'm like, you know what, this is mine, and I'm always appreciative of the things that are handed down to me.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're like, hey, look, here's your car. You like it? I'm like, oh yeah, I like it, because it's something that it's a gift to my parents. I never turn anything down from my parents, because what if that never comes back ever again? That's something that I can remember them by.
Oh yeah.
So that was my first car. And then I think when I graduated high school, my dad had this idea of getting himself a car, but he needed an excuse to get it. So he told my mom, he was like, "Oh, I think DJ needs another car to go to college with that's more reliable than the Accord because he's already done all this crap to it." And I think that at that time I was on the Jump 2 suspension, the sleeves, which I found out were wrong. I found out that I was on Civic spring rate sleeves. And that's the reason why they were so bouncy, because my friends that worked at Skunk 2 afterwards ran the code and like, dude, you bought Civic spring rate rollover sleeves. But they were marketed as an Accord because they were in an Accord box. And I was like, oh, no wonder it's like this, you know, but
this is normal.
my dad's like, that thing's not going to survive on the 91 going to Riverside. So my dad is a Nissan head. Before I was born, he had a Datsun 240 RS. At the time, I didn't know what the heck that was, but it looks a lot like a Celica Supra, but a Nissan. And back home, he would do rally racing in the jungle, but not like legitimately. It's just like city racing, you know. But that's
wow.
He had one of those here, slammed on melted springs. I think he said it was like it was carbureted, dual Weber carbureted, fat exhaust, and then he was running like 15x10s and like stretch tires. So he went through all of that before me, you know. And then
did you know all of this?
I didn't know until I think
that's gangster.
Yeah, I didn't know until I got the Accord, and I was like, why didn't you just save that car? Because that thing sounded so much better than the Accord you're giving me. And he's like, oh, your mom didn't like it because it was a cop magnet. So he sold it for an 89 coupe. I think, 89 coupe from my mom. And then he bought a CRX for himself. And that was it had a cherry, what do you call this, cherry bomb exhaust or whatever? I don't know. It was a loud car, and my mom hated that thing too. So she made him get rid of that for the 96 Accord that we got. You know, so he had all these cool cars growing up.
He gives you the Accord.
And I give him shit about it to today, but he's still a diehard Nissan fan. So when he saw my Z now up for sale at the Mitsubishi dealership, he's like, oh, I got to get that. It was a good price. And he had to convince my mom to say yes. So he asked me, he's like, hey, how willing are you to drive stick? And I'm like, I want to drive stick shift. I want to learn, you know, like, I don't want to drive this automatic car the rest of my life. You know, he's like, all right, cool. You got to help me convince your mom so we can buy this car.
No. Okay, Dad.
So me and him schemed to get me that Z. And the deciding factor was my final grades for senior year.
Oh shoot! I would have done all my homework.
So I did all my homework, aced my test, came home with that report card, and I'm like, let's go buy that car. So we did that. I bought home the Z. It was riced out. I guess some chick owned it before me because it had claw marks everywhere. Steering wheel's all messed up. Over the shifter, over the shifter like where the shifter is, you can see all these scratches because I would guess when people would throw over their purse, whatever metal parts were there would scratch that. So I replaced that. I replaced the steering wheel, and then it had a fake HKS exhaust, and it had dubs. It had like 20-inch wheels on it with like rubber band tires that were bent. So
be honest. Be honest. Did you like it when the car looked back then? Though?
When I first got it, it was cool because it was the first time I saw stretched tires.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the stretched tires like Maya DLS wheels or something like that. And then I was thinking I was hot shit driving home. I didn't know how to drive stick, but over revving it, grinding it into the gear, whatever, right? That car is still alive to today. Same transmission, but like third clutch. But it's I call it all reliable because that car has never let me down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, yeah, I've gone through a clutch. It's overheated once, but what else have I done? Yeah, that's basically it. It's just clutches and it overheated once, so I changed radiator and I changed the fuck clutch and flywheel and slave cylinder. And it's always just been down for like 3 days max. And I can deal with driving the Odyssey or the Accord for those 3 days until I get the Z back up and running, you know? And yeah, all reliable. I had a friend that worked at Nissan at the time, and he would always remind me what's the next maintenance schedule to come through for.
Nice.
So he hooked me up. And then I think that's what led me to buy the Infiniti when I got older. So that was a big mistake.
We'll get into that. Well, I mean, you live in your car, right? So you have that now makes sense why you don't want to let go of that 350Z. I was like, why do you just get rid of that car? Yeah, and that makes sense. It's very sentimental. Okay. So walk us through timeline, because then you take the CD5 to WordWorks to get a whole bunch of stuff done. I mean, you got, tucking, manual swap, if I don't.
No, it's also auto tragic.
You kept the auto, right? You kept the auto, okay.
Auto tragic.
And then you get into an accident.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the whole accident, what happened, and then what other car you got after, because by then you already had the Z.
Yeah. So I met Daniel randomly. I don't know if Daniel's ever told you the story, but
I've heard, but go ahead.
So me and my best friend Pat, we would frequent the Fat Lace Illis car meets that they would throw at their Costa Mesa facility before they closed it down. I think now it's Period Correct, something like that. Yeah, so that building in Costa Mesa, Period Correct, used to be the Illis store in SoCal. And I remember they would have like a monthly meet, and the whole street would be flooded. And me and Pat went through just to buy clothes and check out the meet. And I saw at the time Frankie, when it was blue with the chrome Workmeisters, I believe. It was unpainted trunk, unpainted fenders.
No, yeah. You're mistaken.
It was unpainted everything.
He painted those purposely, that color.
No, beforehand.
Even before. Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, so even before that. Oh, okay. Before that. So then he admitted to doing black fenders on purpose. I was like, okay. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I met him at the meet. Me and Pat left. And all of a sudden I see the CD coming in hot from the freeway. And this guy is halfway out his window with his camera, and a girl in the passenger seat holding the steering wheel. And I'm like, what's this guy doing? And I'm like, oh, he's taking pictures. So I'm just cruising around with him on the 55. And then I think he branched off onto the 91. And I went north to like North Anaheim, Buena Park area. And then I think like a few weeks later, I see these photos floating around of him asking, whose car is this? And I was like, oh, that's me. Whatever, that's me. And he's like, oh, look, I'm a mechanic. I work on Accords. If you ever need anything, give me a shout. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this guy up on his offer. I say, look, I have some things I would like to do. I'll bring it up to you, and if you think it's possible, we'll go from there. So I went to go hang out with Daniel, and I think I hung out at his place for like 5 or 6 hours. And we ended up getting food, talking about life, talking about his dream career. And then I was like, you know what, let's start doing stuff to my Accord. So that's when we started planning to do battery relocation and to start on a minor tuck. And then I think that's at the point where I introduced the Honda Society guys to him, and they all started coming around to him. So fast forward, Daniel likes to experiment with cars. So mine was his guinea pig. So he would do the full wire tuck for the engine of my car, help me with the whole suspension stuff, and minor upgrades here and there. And then when I finally got to the accident, unfortunately, with our car, it was him that was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to see all this hard work go to waste. Let's throw it into another chassis. And that's where he's like, you know what? I'm going to expand outside of Accords. Let's get into Odysseys because it's the next thing, you know. So I think at that time when I bought the Odyssey with Daniel, that's when we met Fast Eddie's Racing, Tommy, and he also had an Odyssey too. So I think Daniel took a solid hour just to look at that van, just to.
I mean, that's the Odyssey, in my opinion.
The Odyssey, yeah, that's the Odyssey that that sparked everything, you know, and I think that's the cool thing that kind of built the whole Honda Society relationships because it's all these people coming together to collaborate to something, and that's when I think FFC came into it too, and they're like, you know what, let's revamp this Odyssey, but we need one to experiment with. So mine became the guinea pig. So when I got my Odyssey, I think it had a slipping transmission, which is notorious for that year.
Was it high mileage?
It was high mileage. Yeah,
okay.
High mileage. And I still had the F23 from my car. So at that point, I was like, oh, let's just throw that motor into the Odyssey and it'll get me from point A to B. And then Daniel brought it up to me. He's like, hey, look, if we're going to do all this work, we might as well just try and convert it to 5-speed. So I was like, oh, I'm down for it. So I helped source transmission from a donor car from Devon. All the 5-speed stuff, 5-speed ECU. And then FFC helped me with clutch pedal, clutch kit, and the custom shift box. And then time after time, we finally made it work. We finally sent the final designs to FFC, and they made the actual shifter box for Fast Eddie's Racing. And I think that's the coolest thing that has happened. One of the coolest things that happened to me with that chassis is because I was at the start of the development for something. Now, Odyssey was probably like one of the coolest things that I would talk about because it's 5-speed swap. And everyone's like, what 5-speed swap? What do you mean? They'll look in the middle and be like, oh shoot, it is, you know. And then it became obvious that there's so much potential for this van, and there are other vans out there that have already done it, you know. And there's market for this. There's my friend Teru in Japan that has the white Odyssey that's fully tucked. That's been on Joey Lee's Chronicle website. You know, I think that's the one that people know the most from the internet. And then there's Tommy with his OG design of his regional Odyssey here. And then I found I think 7 or 8 other ones that are swapped all around the rest of the US. You know, and it's crazy to see how people either took CNC machined parts or just everyday welding a steel bracket onto the floor and calling it a day. You know, and you know, people made it work. You know, and
getting creative.
Creative, you know, and now FFC was the marketplace of, you know what, if you have an Odyssey, we sell a plug and play kit for you to buy if you want to convert your Odyssey to manual. And I think they sold out. There was enough of a market for people to buy. That's the cool thing, you know. And it didn't stop at F series. It went to H series. Stewart went J series. Tommy's is a reverse mounted H series. You know, there's a whole bunch of options for that. I think one person bought one to go K series. You know, so there's the options are non-stop. It's just once you have that shifter box mounted on the floor, and once you have that custom Willwood pedal set up for the firewall, you know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So you pick up the Odyssey and then you slap in the F23. If I'm not mistaken, you debuted. Well, I think the first time I ever saw that van was at a Cadillac Cormorants in Pedro, and I started from a bit just because it was stuck. I mean, you were static, if I'm not mistaken, back then.
That was bags. I had just finished the bags.
You finished the bags? Okay.
Just for that event. I remember I think one of the compressor motors wasn't working. And I had an issue with the brake system for that van because it was on bags. But I made it to that meet because I guess for the back of the Odyssey, a lot of heavier vehicles have this load sensing proportioning valve in the back so that whenever there's load in the truck, it'll open or close that valve to adjust for braking. So
Ooh.
when I had it on air and I had done the ABS delete, it messed up that system. So when I would air up is when my brakes would work, but when I want to ride low, it would stop. So
That's a problem.
that's a problem. Yeah. So the fix was to delete that sensing valve, the low sensing proportioning valve in the first place, which is I think I just removed it, took two unions, connected the brake lines, and it fixed it. You know, but it took us 6 months to realize what the heck was going on. You know, so, yeah, trial and error, right? Trial and error. So now whenever I see a bagged Odyssey, I'm like, oh, make sure you take care of that low sensing proportioning valve, or else good luck stopping. You know. But yeah, so at that meet, it was bag ready. I think I had the R. No, I didn't have the RLs on yet, but we finished the ABS delete. Motor swap was done. 5-speed was done, but I had a bad transmission, so second gear wouldn't work. I think synchros went out or something like that. But it made it, and yeah, it made it. And then I think the drive was horrific because no AC. And when I did the conversion, there's a giant hole in the firewall where the
Oh gosh.
have to go through. So my right leg is on fire from the heat, coming through. So yeah, that was fun.
And so you get the moving kit, which is extremely hard to get. Um, did you consider respraying the entire vent?
Yeah. So it was in my thoughts to get the car repainted. And all my friends know that that's the biggest lie that I could ever say, because all the projects that I've had so far haven't been painted. And they say that it's gonna get painted, but it just never happens, And so my plan was to spray the entire van and the kit the same sage green metallic that the van was.
Mhm.
At that time, I already had the CCWs on. I wanted to get them refinished. It was perfect for me. And then I noticed with the back system, old technology is only gets you so far, because when that front bag would inflate, it would rub on the inside of the knuckle. And over time, it'll develop a wear on the bag and it'll eventually pop. So I didn't want that to happen anymore. So before that ever happened, I sold off the entire air kit for the van and went back to coilovers. But going on coilovers at the fitment that I had was just rim hitting quarter panel and wheel fender the entire time. So I figured, you know what? Let me just make it the proper way of an Odyssey with the Mutant kit, because the Mutant kit is kind of more sportier theme. I'll put on some CPRs. I'll put it back in coilovers, and then I'll rock it like that. So I bought the CPRs off of Alex's coupe, the blue one, the J Spot blue one, and then I rocked them on the van for a couple months with the kit until I got an offer for the kit. And money talks, dude. At that moment, I was like, you know what? Like, the van's the van, but I don't think I'll ever get this offer for the kit ever again.
Mhm.
So I took the offer, But seeing the van after the kit was gone, I was like, I don't like it. I've already gotten so used to all the aero stuff that was on the van that it just didn't look right, And then I tried to settle on the fact that I can make it kind of sporty by making it look like Joey Lee's van.
Mhm.
They had like a 98 spec kit and still the medium wing, but at that point I was like, I don't know, I've already lost interest in it. And once that project kind of started to die out, I parted it out, and then I was kind of like in limbo what to get.
So you part it out and then you sold the van?
So I parted it out completely. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
I know what happened. I remember asking you, send me the picture. I was like, oh, these.
part of it, yeah, parted it out completely, and then Henato bought the shell for me, because I told him if he bought the shell for me, I'll throw in the coilovers for his van for free, because I didn't want to take them off. So he came by with the U-Haul trailer, picked up the van, and then like 3 days later, someone texted me a photo of that car, pick apart the van. Yeah, it's like, hey dude, this is your van. And I see all the stickers that I had on the back window.
It's your van, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yep, rest in peace. Yeah, so I
So that's the story behind that. Oh, I thought you. I was like, he doesn't throw me as someone who would send it to the junkyard, but oh, okay, that's a bummer.
It went with Hanato, and he got rid of the event for me.
So then, sorry. So you have the van. It's done. It's gone. You have the Z at this moment, right?
Yeah.
Is that the only car you have?
That's the only car I had, I think, for like 3 months. And then that was at the transition time when I was leaving the company that I worked with my mom to another company. And when I left to the new company closer to home, it was a bigger pay increase. So I thought maybe right now is a good time for me to buy a new car. That way it's more reliable than driving the Z, which at the time I think had a clogged cat and I got like 11 miles per gallon.
Hey.
Yeah, I can't do that, you know? So me thinking that Nissan's reliable, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy a
I'm sorry.
Just over reliable, you know, like it's never let me down. I'm assuming that the new Q50 had a 3.7 liter 370Z motor, right? And it would be great. You know? So I showed up to the dealership looking for that 3.7 model. The one I wanted got sold off the lot, and then they tricked me to say, hey, look, we have the new 3.0 turbo model here on the lot too. We'll give you the same deal as the 3.7 and go from there. And I was like, all right, cool. Newer car, lower car, same payment. I'm getting the good end of this deal. So I bought the new car. I loved it for like the first 15,000 miles. And then the luxury car curse hit in. And then everything started just going wrong. Yeah. So when I bought that car, I still had the money from parting out the Odyssey and the kit. So at that point, that was when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put it on backs. I'm gonna put it on wheels, and then it'll be still stock motor, stock drivetrain, so that if anything were to happen, I can still warranty it. You know, thank goodness I did that because engine, transmission, turbos were all defective for that car.
Oh, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Don't get me wrong, that car is beautiful. I love the way the car looks. And I wanted that car since like 2014 when it first came out, you know? And then when I finally first got it, so excited. I was like, yeah, cool. This is one of my dream cars that are actually
attainable.
Attainable, you know? And then it's heartbreaking when you're like, oh, cool, it's on a tow truck, you know? What happened? Oh, your turbos blew out, you know? How? I don't know, you know? So the first thing that went was the driver's side turbo. And then I remember when I started the car, it had a rod knock. So I towed it to the dealership. They opened up the motor. So turbo went out, serpentine belt went out, and something happened inside the block to scar the cam lobe, so they had to warranty out the motor. I got a free motor out of it at like 20,000 miles. But that already kind of left a bad taste. You know, I'm like, you know, I don't know how reliable this car is anymore, but I'll still drive it. I think like 6,000 miles down the line, another thing happened. I think the other turbo went out, and the shard of it went into the motor itself.
Oh, shit.
And then it messed up from there. So they warranted it again. Another motor. So I'm on motor number 3 technically.
Wow.
And then at that point, I was like, I can't keep this car because if I drive it till the wheels fall off, if I have to replace this motor by myself again, that's another 10 grand. You know. So then I looked into filing a lemon law claim for this car, and it took forever because I think for California lemon law to occur, 3 of the same incidents have to happen repetitively.
That's insane. It's a new car. After the first one should be enough, man. It's a brand new car. And it's not a cheap car.
It's not. And so every issue I've had with the car happened twice each time. And the last motor that they put into it happened to be the most reliable out of it. But I was already like 85% into this lemon law claim. And everyone was like, well, why don't you just trade it into the dealership and just get something else? The resale value of that Infiniti is terrible. I think it depreciated almost 75%. Yeah, 75%. And what I owed for that car was double what it was worth from Kelly Blue Book
Oh.
for being a low mileage car too. And I'm just like, what did I get myself into? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my daily up until last year. I put
Thank goodness.
54,000 miles on that car, and then once I finally won my case, I was like, you know what? No more Nissan, no more Infiniti.
I was gonna ask you that. I mean, does that change the way? I think eventually you would want to get a new car. Does that change the way you look at car purchase? And let me before you answer that, the only new car that I've ever bought was a Subaru STI. The salesman wanted to sell me a WRX. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna buy a new car, every 3 years. So I want something that's really sporty and blah blah blah. So I got the STI. Um, Unbeknownst to me that the STI does hold its value semi well. I mean, right? So when I returned the car, it held its value compared to the WRX what it would have. And when I look at cars like a Mazda SUV next to a Subaru Outback, and they're the same year, and the Mazda just depreciated way more than the Subaru. I'm like, what the heck, man? Like it made me that moment made me realize like, oh shoot, I'm glad I went with the STI. And if I ever buy a Mazda, it's gonna be a used one just because they depreciate like crazy. So it has definitely changed my mind on how I go about a purchase. Not necessarily that that's my only way of looking. If I like the car, eventually I'll, if I need to go buy one, I'll go. But how did that change your mentality?
Well, a big thing is reliability, So I think during the time of my whole lemon law, everyone's like, oh, what car are you gonna get next? What car are you gonna get next? And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I need something reliable. So Toyota is a really big one for reliability. Like you see like 99 4Runners to today with like 500,000 miles and they're still bulletproof, you know what I mean? And if it's not that, I just buy another Honda, but Honda nowadays has so much electronics incorporated into it, so it's like, what are the chances that might fail or not? So I think at the end of the day, I think I narrowed it down to Toyota 4Runner, Toyota Tundra, or the new TLX A-Spec or Type S, whichever one. If the Type S would have came out at the time that I purchased, I might have done that. But I was looking at 4Runners, I was looking at Tundras, and I saw that even like 2007 models are still going for a high amount of price. They hold their values really well. And Toyota reliability, million miles. I've heard stories of a million mile Toyotas. And it seemed like a good choice. And then for the Acura, I really like the TLX. It's a beautiful car. The new one is so nice, especially if the Type S that's coming out. Amazing car, but electronic suspension, all those like gizmos and gadgets kind of scare me now because of what the Infiniti had.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So after everything was said and done, I was like, you know what? I'll just buy a Toyota. So I ended up buying a Tundra. Bad time to buy a Tundra because the market's very high right now and gas prices are insane, but I wanted to get this Tundra before the new model comes out because the new model is a completely revamped one, and I heard it's going to be a V6 twin turbo, which is the same thing I had in the Q, and that kind of gives me PTSD. So I told myself I need something that's non-turbo. If it's going to be turbo, it has to be a turbo thing that I put into it. If I boost it myself, at least I know it's fixable. But if it comes factory turbo, I ain't touching it no more.
Oh man, that sucks. Okay, so you have a Tundra. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I've kept it really low key. I bought a Tundra.
Very nice, dude.
I bought it about 2 months ago. Instantly, just dumped money into it.
Really? Oh, okay.
Everything's under back order, so it's stock until everything comes.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that, and the reason why is because you completely just jump a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah.
Because after that, you ended up picking up an Integra sedan.
Yeah. So I think after the second engine, my parents were like, you know what? It's not a good idea for me to keep putting mileage on this car because once your extended warranty is out, you're shit out of luck. You know, so kind of just use that car on the weekend when you want to go out with your girlfriend or whatever. During the week, just drive the Z or buy a car that's more gas saving. You know, so at the time, my friend Alex from Fitted though had a green four-door DB Integra for sale, and that car has been around Fitted though. I think six people from Fitted though have owned it, and then one or two more people after me. It might be two more people after me.
Wow.
It's been around. So I bought that car as a daily, and then you know how it happens. People are like, oh look, you should see this part for it. You should see this part for it. And my good friend Aaron does all of my mechanic work now for my car because he's such a knowledgeable person. Like I'm so blessed to have him in Fitted though that's willing to help me out with all my stuff now. You know, so he was browsing through the interwebs one day and he found a 5-lug conversion for the Integra. He's like, look, you want to redo the suspension on the Integra anyways? Might as well do it once, do it right. Let's do the wheel hubs, let's do the knuckles, let's do the wheel bearings, let's do it all right. You know, so I looked at the 5-lug. I think I paid like $800 for it, something like that. It's pretty cheap at the time. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. But then I realized that I can't buy 5-lug without buying wheels. So I think that same weekend I bought Advan RGs. Yeah, I bought Advan RGs. And once I put them on the car, on the Integra, I was like, this looks great. I love this car. I bought DC2 Recaros. I think I converted the interior from tan to gray. And then I did the whole PCI front lip and side skirt. And then I was like, all right, this is the car. But at that time when I was hanging out with the Fitted guys, everybody had an EK hatch. And I got fear of missing out. I was like, oh, maybe I should just get an EK hatch too. And then another buddy from Fitted happened to have a hatch for sale. And then my buddy Aaron at the time, he was like, I need a daily to drive because his hatch was down. So I came up with the idea of how about I have the Integra right now. I'll buy the EK hatch. He can drive the car meanwhile until he gets a daily and then I can sell the Integra. So I put the Integra back to stock, put all the 5-lug stuff onto that EK, and then I took over the EK once he bought his daily. And then COVID hit. Yeah. When COVID hit, I think that car was supposed to see its first track day because we wanted to blow up the engine at the track.
And this is the EK hatch.
This is the EK hatch, yeah. Okay. Because I had sold the Integra to my friend Augie. He loves the car, but I think he wants to sell it now, but I'm not so sure yet. But,
one of the Fitted guys will get it. Don't worry.
Will get it. Yeah. So this is the EK hatch, stock motor, passes smog, but I think it was overheating at the time. So we're like, oh, let's just take it to the track. If it's gonna blow up, it's gonna blow up. And then COVID had hit that weekend, so they canceled the track day. But the car was already at Aaron's house, getting all like the fluids and all that stuff done. And then he had this idea of like, oh, why don't you let's just make a summer project out of it and let's swap it. So my friend Ken Swen, he used to be the face of the Godspeed race car with the big red. Mm-hmm. He has a red Civic SI that's all like
beautiful.
Yeah. He had a K20 Z3 sitting at his house because he had taken that out of his car and built a K24 out of a new one. So I bought that block and transmission from him, and then the K swap started from there. So
no biggie.
No biggie, yeah. So then, yeah, Aaron walked me through 90% of it, but I think the car served as a good platform for him to market his, what do you call it, services. Like Aaron does an amazing job with brake line relocations. He does an amazing job engine harness, like redoing engine harnesses, you name it, and Daniel does a good job too, and I got my first round of viewing how extensive modification can go by Daniel, and then now with the Civic stuff with Aaron, I'm like, wow, this is nuts, like to go into tucking an engine bay that far, and having the next steps be welding all the holes, shaving the engine bay, painting it, and getting it to full car status, a full show car status. That's it's crazy for me because it's just like you don't really see how much time and like precision wise or creativity wise goes into a build until you're actually doing it yourself, Like when we did the wire tuck on the Accord and the Odyssey, Daniel had to do it from scratch because I don't think any company has an engine or chassis harness for the F series. They have it pre with H series, but if you wanted to keep your stock single cam, you basically had to cut and extend your own harness by yourself, So I would see how intricate Daniel would get with building an engine harness around the F series, But when it comes to the K, anything you want for a K series, the market has. There's nothing that you can think of that's not out there that hasn't been mass produced or fabricated by another shop. So I feel like when it came down to the EK, it was just like blank canvas as long as you had the money to spend for it. So it went a lot further than just tucking the wire harness in the fender wells or lining the engine harness by the motor, around the motor in like certain areas. Now it's just how far do you want to go down the rabbit hole of tucking this, tucking that, And it got to the point where it's like removing the dash, putting the prop valve inside the car instead of inside the engine bay, running brand new lines from the firewall outside of the engine bay through the firewall inside the car, and it's nuts, And I watched Aaron do all that because that's his craft, That's his talent of making things the way that they look, He's taught me so much to the fact that it's like whatever car I build from now has to match that standard.
Oh, good luck.
Good luck, right? So the K swap happened. I bought every part that I could for that Civic. And I think I got lucky with all the parts that I got for it because it wasn't hard to find, And I think the hardest thing for me to find was, it's pricey. Yeah, it's pricey. There. But it's good to have friends in some places, like I scratched their back, they scratched mine. So,
networking. And, we talk. I mean, I talk so much back on Civics, but you can't deny it. They're amazing looking cars. And then that K swap in there, power to weight ratio, you cannot beat it. Yeah. Hell of a freaking car. So you look like you were enjoying that car. What happened to it?
So that K swap scared me.
Why?
It's like you said, that power to weight ratio is insane. It's a light chassis. Granted, it was only pushing like 225 horsepower. It still spun tire first through third. So like at any point where I'm on it, it would be like this. I had every suspension upgrade. I had traction bars. I did everything to get that car stable. But I think it's just me as a driver. I wasn't ready for it. Because I had went from 69 horsepower F series to like 101 horsepower with the B18 and the Integra, and then double that to 225 with the Civic. I don't really count the Z because sure, whatever, 300 horsepower by the catalog, but that's still with power steering. That's rear-wheel drive. I have all the creature comforts to make it fine because that's how the car came. It's a heavier chassis. It feels more planted. and I have more control. But when it comes to that Civic, it's literally a soda can with a motor. You know, and I see the guys you interviewed from like Hatchy Game with the J series, or I think there's a guy that has the Turbo K24 EG. That he makes parts. I forgot his name. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that you've interviewed, and they're pushing 3, 4, 500 horsepower in a shell that weighs like 2,200 pounds. You know,
Scary,
right?
especially from the passenger side. Just holding on to it.
And, I think I don't know if Aaron's gonna get mad at me for exposing his build, but Aaron has told me like, yeah, my hatch might be, turbo all-wheel drive. You know, so turbo all-wheel drive. Aaron builds fast cars, and that thing's gonna be like a rocket ship. You know, it's just like once it's gone, it's gone. And to me, like it was a little bit too much for me. So I was afraid to drive it a lot of the times. It smelled like gas all the time because there's no cat. You know, it's from the header, it went to the exhaust. There's nothing there. I mean, I could have put a cat on it to solve it, but you know,
there were more things that were adding up to that. Okay.
And then at the point, I was like, you know what, I want to paint it. So I started sourcing. I got an Exceed lip. I had just gotten the TE, so it's the dream wheels that I wanted. I already got the Type R EK Type R wing, which is, I don't know how they go. Those wings go for like $600 now. You know, it's insane. The Civic parts market is insane. You know, I got the rear lip with the car. I think I had new fenders that are just. I got new fenders from Alex with his EM1. He gave me his new fenders, and the car was ready just to get sprayed. It's just I was waiting for the right moment to spray the car, and then I got an offer for it, and like with the weekend kit, I couldn't say
Money
no.
talks.
Money talks. My friend just told me at the moment, it was like, this is your one and only chance for you to break even. You know,
Ooh.
because you're already X amount of dollars deep into this EK. It's either you sell it now and you can start whatever project you want again, or you're stuck with it, you know? And I've always joked around with you guys about, hey, I'm gonna come back to the coursing one day. I'm gonna come back to the coursing one day. And I miss it, you know, like I miss doing Cali Accord meet because I missed the last two after I got rid of the Odyssey, you know, and then I still keep in touch with the guys and all, but it's like I don't have that connection of like, oh, I just got an SIR wing, or I just got, RL calipers. You know, it's a completely different conversation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and talking with the Honda Society guys, in a way, it's a little bit different than talking to my normal friends from Fitted. You know, like we can sit down and have a grown up conversation, but when I talk to the guys from Cali Accord Meet, it's like they're like the elders. You know, they know a certain way that has been tried and true. But if I want to experiment with stuff, I talk to the guys from Fitted. You know, so once I had a moment to come back, I sold the Civic, and then the right shell just happened to pop up, and I bought it. So,
were you looking for it?
I thought about buying it before, but the pieces didn't line up at the time, because at the time, I think Adon wanted to sell his car for a wagon, and then Devin wanted to buy the coupe because he wasn't happy with the sedan. And then there was all a matter of if one person bought the other person's car, then that person will sell me the car, and then the prices didn't line up from one person to another, and then it didn't line up with me, and then it never happened. And then it kind of just fell on the back burner for like 5 months, 6 months, you know. And I ended up buying it. Yeah, after I got rid of the Civic, I ended up buying it. You know, they paid me the amount to break even, and I was like, you know what, this is my one time to buy an Accord, and I bought one, and now I'm back.
What's the vision for the Accord?
It came a lot faster than I wanted it to. So Devin already upgraded a lot of it, so it has 5 lug already. It already has RLs.
Or luck for life.
Engine is well maintained. Flywheel and clutch need to be swapped out eventually, but I really want to keep it smog legal. And that's because when I sold off the EK, I sold it off to a friend of a friend. And I want to keep a good name for myself because I don't want to be named as a bad seller. But when I sold the car, I guess I had a state ref on it. So when they asked me, like, hey, look, the Civic has a state ref, why'd you sell us a ref car? I told them I honestly didn't know where the ref came from. You know, I rarely took out the car. You know, it was in my garage most of the time. I sent them my driver's record just to prove to them I've never gotten pulled over in this car. I'm a bitch driver, by the way. I don't speed. um, so I guess now there's just been random flags of state ref.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I believe Chris Marr is one of the victims too, because his car got yeah. So I know he has his. I don't know what he's doing specifically to address his state ref issue, but his car was one of the few that has been randomly ref. And unfortunately, my Civic was too. So I told myself whatever car I build next needs to be some sort of legal. You know, so I think that's why I was kind of more inclined to getting a 94, 95 because OBD1 a little bit easier to get through emission stuff because there's no OBD port. You know, they just plug your stuff into the sniffer and then hopefully if it looks stock, they'll pass you. You know, so yeah, the plan is to keep it single jingle. I might put a prelude T2 T4 trans in it just so it has a little bit more oomph. Wire tuck, definitely gonna happen because I don't like the way ABS looks in there. It's honestly, I think it's just gonna be a tribute car to my first one.
Ooh.
It's gonna be built the way I should have done the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll come out right because I've already acquired like 98% of the parts. And it's just waiting for a time to send it to paint before I do anything else.
Which will never happen.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I'm not putting any of the parts on until it goes to paint. Because I told myself if I put all the parts on, I'm just gonna get lazy and it's not gonna get painted ever again. yeah. So I've acquired the kit from Francis's Accord. Remember Francis?
Oh yeah.
So I have his sides, rear, SIR wing, and the front bumper.
Nice.
I bought wheels from a guy in Washington. So I have SSR Type Fs that we put on the car.
Okay.
Jake from Washington with the Red RA has been the biggest help with me with getting those wheels down here because I wouldn't want to buy wheels that wouldn't fit the brakes. You know, so Jake went out of his way to meet up with the guy, test fit the wheels on his Odyssey to make sure they fit. Once it confirmed, then I purchased.
What a guy! Shout out to Jake.
Jake's the man. You know?
In a couple of weeks, he's gonna be done with his semester from school, or quarter from school, and hopefully we're gonna have him on the podcast. But yeah, that's who would do that, you know? I mean, you guys have met in person because of the Cali Equipment meets, right?
Yeah, we have, and it means a lot to me to know that there are guys out there that are down to help me with that. You know, Jason from FFC, anything I needed from FFC, he basically sent it almost next day here. You know, all the FFC stuff that I wanted, it came, you know, next day. And the guys have just been helpful for me with sourcing parts. You know, like they know my taste and style, so anything that they have an idea of what I would like, they send it to me. You know, the other day Ralph sent me a Mugen grill that was on for sale. And then
yeah, that's why he keeps hoarding all the parts because you guys beat me to it. I'm not on Facebook, so by the time I come across a part, I see Ralph, I see Corwin, I see all you guys, and I'm like, oh, that's that.
Yeah, so Ralph tagged me in this vegan grill, but it was out in Hawaii. And then after going back and forth with the seller, I think something happened with PayPal. Since I paid with goods and services, it wouldn't clear on the seller's end because I had to clear it for tracking or something like that. So he ended up refunding me the money, but I still wanted the grill. So Hawaii Mike Mariani with the purple wagon, went out of his way to purchase that grill for me.
Wow.
You know, so I paid him, give him little extras on top, and he helped me out a lot. I think Corwin tagged me in a Greddy SP2 exhaust out in San Diego.
It's like full exhaust, right? I saw that one.
Yeah, I think someone tagged you too to buy it. I ended up buying that for my car, so it's on my car. Yeah, so yeah, it's everything is coming to play, and then I bought all the maintenance stuff for the suspension to redo the suspension. Gonna rebuild the whole front end basically. So new steering rack, inner outer tie rods, new axles. I got another 5-lug kit from Devin. So new wheel bearings, basically a brand new knuckle going in. Yeah, just gonna do it once do it right, you know. And then paint it, and then
same color.
So I'm juggling between two. I really like Granada Black, my OG color.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's a picture floating of a blue coupe, blue sedan from Japan on Impul RS BBSs. I think that color is from a 10th gen Accord, and it's gotten me hooked on that car. So if I can get a factory color that's easy to paint match later on, I will go for that. So that blue, I'm thinking about it too. However, it's very close to purple, so I don't want to get teased like we teased Daniel about his Bali blue being purple, you know. But and that's the thing. Like once you paint it, you kind of have to be happy with what color.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult decisions, but it could be the most rewarding. I'll be honest with you guys. And with you, like the color that Jackie is, that's not the color I wanted. I wanted more of a bluish. At the time, I just wanted the car to be a color. I mean, it was red fenders, black bumper, front green hood, different light green body, and I wanted to paint, right? So I took it to Mako, and I asked for this specific color code, the Amble Jeep Wrangler. And they say, yeah, sure. And then they end up getting, and that code has 2 different colors that are very distinct. And they technically got it right because this was weird, but I wanted more blue. And when my other buddy, Josh, ended up fixing my front bumper, he's like, hey, they gave me the wrong color. And then he's freaking, he's a jack of all trades. He's like, look, I mixed the color that they gave me and I mixed this. And then you can clearly see the difference. And when I saw the color, like, this is the Anvil, I was like, oh, shoot, like, the color is completely different. Like, it's almost like the Integra from Sick as Lee.
Yeah,
not quite, though. It's a little bit different shade blue. And I was like, damn, like, but obviously I didn't know back then, I didn't know them. So that's the colors that you kind of like, focus on.
Yeah, so then thankfully the paint place I'm gonna take it to is Alex's shop. He said he's booked out until end of September, October, so I have some time to think about the color I want to do. But I've gotten it down to the original Granada Black that the car is, or that blue. So it's just a matter of flipping a coin, I guess, maybe that day. Because I think that was
keep looking. I mean, I think that's the right. I think eventually you're gonna be like, no, it's that color that I want. I think you maybe leaning towards the blue or whatever, but the black it's gonna look beautiful as well. You mentioned something right now that I definitely want to have a conversation. Before we go into that, do you want to take a break? You want to go to the restroom, get some drink?
I'm good.
Okay, let me know how you are on time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're already an hour and 20 minutes into this, man, because it's so good. And speaking of goodness, I didn't know that all these individuals from different states went out of their way. So first, I want to start chatting about Fitted Though. What's Fitted Though? You mentioned them a couple times. Tell us how you got introduced or became another Fitted Though member.
So when I started getting into cars when I was younger, my buddies in high school would tell me, "Hey, look, they throw meats at Krispy Kreme at Ontario Mills on Monday nights." So we would make it a plan, like probably once a month, to go out to those meets to basically hang out, eat donuts, as a high schooler. And at the time, I didn't know any of them. I would just show up to the meet and then just to hang out with my friends. And then I think I was approached by Alan and a friend of mine named Mark. Um, they're both OG members of Fitted Though. Um, just casual conversation. I think Alan sold me some stickers from Fitted Though back then, and then Mark had sold me my first set of function and form type ones because I think at the time he was a retailer at Maxi Garage in Pomona. Yeah, so I met up with Mark one day to buy coilovers, and he delivered it to me at Fitted Though, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was out the back of his legendary Volvo wagon, and yeah, so I think I would frequent that meet for probably the next 3 years, and then when I graduated high school and I had a little bit more time, I would frequent it a little bit more. And the thing about Fitted Though that I liked about them the most is that it's not one of those car clubs that like require you to pay a fee to get in, or like you have to buy merch from them or whichever. They literally told me just like, you know what, if you come out and hang out with us and get along with us, we'll give you a sticker. So I hung out with them for a good minute. Alan rolled my fenders for my Accord back then. They would invite me to like little barbecues and stuff, and then eventually I kind of just earned that Fitted Though sticker, that OG banner that everyone used to have on their windshield. That the type where it's like, oh, I rep this group. So every Monday I would just be out with those guys, just chilling in the parking lot like we do today until like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I would always go home early just because I'm an old bird, so like I get sleepy at like 9:30, 10. They would 2, 3 in the morning, and that's their thing. And Monday nights at Krispy Kreme or now at David's Bridal, is where they hang out. So it became more of a family thing that, now that we're all older, it's not just cars that unite us. Like a lot of the guys now are getting married, and half of their wedding would be Fitted Though guys. A lot of them have families of their own now, so whenever we throw a baby shower, it's all of us. So it's moved on from just car stuff to more family stuff, and it makes me feel at home because that's the same thing with the Honda Society guys. The Honda Society guys have already gotten a jump start at that life after teenager age, young adult age, because a lot of the guys there already have a family. So I've already been introduced to that whole once you're in your family type of thing. And that's the feeling of I get from both groups. So yeah, Fitted Though it's a family thing. It's gonna be with the hustle guys. Once you're in, like, no matter what car you may have in the future or what life may throw at you, your family. That's something that I hold dear to my heart. Like both both groups. I'm gonna hold them close forever. And I can say that there are guys from both groups that are willing to go up to the end of the world for each other. And if I ask the Fitted Though guy, like, oh, can you help me find this part for my car? They'll go out of their way. Same thing with the HS cars. So it's one big family. I respect that.
That's cool, man. I'm glad that as a high schooler you're able to find that group of guys that like you are. They're seasoned. They're mature. They're really willing to go out of their way to help you out. Instead of just trolling or being a typical person that you ask a question and right away, oh, new, how dare you not know this? And it's like, well, and I'm sure there's always going to be a couple of those people in both groups. You and I have come across a lot of people in Honda Society. I don't necessarily agree with everybody's. I might like their projects, but maybe I don't like them on their personal level. But you do get to meet a lot of people that are willing to go out of their way to help you out, and those are the ones that you continue to have conversations. I mean, And that's usually what leads you to continue building a car, especially like that Accord. I mean, that Accord is not a popular chassis, and you mentioned it with the Civic. Like, I would assume that it was so much easier to. It was expensive, but it was much more easier and wild to build a Civic than
Yeah.
you ever had a privilege with the Accord, with the Odyssey, and it's like you dive into a different chassis, but then I'm sure you also dove into a whole bunch of different people that drive that chassis. You're like, this is new. I don't, necessarily. Some of them, I'm sure you like them a lot. Some of them maybe you didn't, but that
Yeah.
comes with the territory.
Yeah. And I agree with you there. And like, as much as I like the Civic, I feel like I didn't really fit in with that community. Like I built, in my opinion, a nice car, but I would feel that sometimes when I would see other hatches, their owners wouldn't, like be so excited about seeing, my car as much as I would be excited to see theirs. And when I was in the Accord community, since it's such an underrated chassis, everyone's so close. And I'm not saying that the Civic community was like ignorant or like stuck up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my crowd to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's just because I like the odd builds, but I,
Obviously.
yeah, I like the Civic as is and the car itself, but in that community, I felt like it wasn't my place. That I think that was another inclination for me to get rid of the car because I felt like I didn't fit in. You know, like it's not like where I wanted to be was important, but it's just like it just wasn't my scene. You know.
No, I 100% agree with what I understand where you're coming from. I think, and I've gotten that a lot from different people where they're like, well, hey, so and so, how is he? I saw the interview, but and I'm like, he's cool, man. He's like, oh, okay. Well, they seem very quiet when you're at their car meets and want to say, hey, like something, but they just seem to be in their own little group. I think part of it, that's it. That's what it is. Civic guys. I think if the Accord community was as many Accords as Civics and as high level projects, you lose that, oh my gosh, wow factor. Two, um, not saying that the Civic guys are different or Integra guys, but the thing is, like, Civic and Integras, man, it's been done. It's been done, man. Like, they do so much that nowadays is like, well, it's always like the next question, like you mentioned. Like, I'm 1,000% okay with the fact that you said that you want to build your car single gen. I love F series. I love it. I don't care. But the thing is, you get into the realm of things where Integras and Civic dudes are like, it's a swap. Yeah, it is swap. B16. Oh, then could have gone to B18. If you say it's B18, damn, bro, you could have done, K. Okay, if it's K, is it turbo? It's like, okay. If it's turbo, is it all-wheel drive? And it's like all these different things because it's there's just so much out there that has been done and continue to continue to build that it almost loses that sense of like now a K series Civic hatch is not a big wow type of thing. And for me, it is. Like for me, I still look at a K swap and I'm like, damn, like, and then you know the fact that there's people out there putting in work, K swap, B swap has been done on Civic chassis for a long time. But what about the youngster that's barely starting for the first time doing a B18 swap on their Civic EK? Sure, the information's there. Sure, it's been done. But the joy that they get, and I think a lot of people are not going to go out of the way to be like, damn, bro, congrats. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying some people. And that's because there's so many Civics as opposed to Accords. I mean, Accords, then you do an H swap. It's been done, right? But I still get giddy, like, damn, that's cool, man. You need an H swap. And even if it's single series, that's the idea for me. And I think that's where it comes from. Like, we are just excited to see another dude just even mess with an Accord that it's cool. I mean, and Civic guys, it's just normal. Like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. And this is like, I think when I had my Civic, it was just like, why couldn't you top the next one? And then you kind of find yourself comparing your build to others, and I kind of lost that sense of what makes mine. You know, it's for my Civic, it was such a cookie cutter build. Like it's expected that a Civic has some sort of swap. It's expected that someone has brand new, $1,000 Type R headlights. It's expected for you to have that hybrid racing shifter. It's expected for you to have TE37s. Like there's a stereotype and a norm that you feel like you should adhere to, but you lose your sense of like speciality. Like I remember, I think I saw this picture of the new Type R, um, and it was on like some BBSs, but they're the type of BBSs you would expect to see on like an E46 M3. It's like a style E88 or something like that. And a lot of people flame that car at first because they're like, oh, it doesn't look right. It's not the right wheel for that car. You should have gotten Titan 7s, or you should have gotten T37s, and you should have gotten, C28s, but that different look, I loved it so much. Like there are some people that are like, you should never put, a JDM wheel on a Euro car, or
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
I love that.
It looks great, and you'll come across this other people, but at the end of the day, like because that person put BBS Euro style BBSs on that CTR, that makes that one stand out just so much more than every other CTR, 10th gen CTR on Titan 7s or T37s.
Tease.
FK8 spec, So yeah, I felt like I was building a cookie cutter car and not going back to what made me kind of happy about building a car. And I found that in these underappreciated builds because the market's so small for the Odyssey. There's not a lot around, and yeah, sure, a lot of our cars look similar to each other because we all have the same viewing grill, we all have the same retrofitted headlights, black depot headlights, but everyone's take on that is totally different. Like mentioning, let's just say RPF ones. RPF ones are found in so many EGs, so many EKs. You can get the concave face, you can get the convex face, you can get SPC finish. But when I say T37s when I say RPF ones for the core chassis, I only think of Jake, I only think of Omar, and I only think of Alex. Right? Those are the only three that come to mind for such a popular wheel that's only for those three chassis that it can come to my head. That's what makes Jake's. Oh, is it Oscar or Omar? I think it's Oscar. That's
Oscar.
Oscar. Right? Yeah, Oscar, Alex, and Jake's builds a little bit more stand out for me.
Well, because there's an extra step, which is 5 lug, and then they're going very aggressive, 17 by 9.5 or 10.
Yeah, and then depending if you're running RLs or not, you have to deal with that too.
It's funny you mentioned that because right now it triggers something that you mentioned about the way you were building your Civic. It was different, and I won RPF once. I even said in my last little walk around, I love the RPF ones. I am now in a level of self-confidence. I give two shits what people say or don't say about my car. When I first started Honda Society, I cared a lot about it, my build thread. And so that's where I was like, okay, now not anymore. That was back in 2010. And I find that a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the way you should spend your money, or the way you should build your car. And I find it humorous because a lot of these individuals haven't really done things that they're telling you not to do. So therefore you're like, well, I'm not going to do it because someone said that this doesn't work. For instance, 16-inch RPF ones, I used to think like, oh, 16-inch wheels are so small, there's no way they're going to look good. That's the same common thing that everybody would say, like, 16s for a Civic is fine, but not for an Accord is big body, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the only ones that you mentioned, the RPF ones, they have to go 5 lug, so 17-inch, and it looks better. But it wasn't until I started seeing the Ring Up Masters and I was like, man, I don't want to go 5 lug. Like, I know you can go 5 lug, and the whole wheel choice opens up. And I already have a car that doesn't have that much aftermarket support, and I like odd wheels. I like, specific wheels, and I love the Ford look, the Ford lug look. I like somebody going up to and being like, "Damn, you're Ford lug? Yeah, how come you go 5 lug?" Because then I wouldn't be able to have these wheels. I mean, going back to that, T37s exist everywhere. For Civics, it exists. They come 4x100. Accords, you have to do that extra step of finding a specific wheel, and so now I'm in the hunt for some RPF ones, 16-inch. Shoot, I put 15 on the sedan, and I love the way it looks. I mean, and it goes back to that. Like, if somebody comes and says that looks bad, that looks, thanks, I didn't ask you. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking for approval. If you like it, you like it. But that's part of it. And part of it is that until you go and you try something, you're not gonna know.
Yeah, and that's the thing with my EK too. Like, everyone was telling me, oh, you should just do 15-inch gram lights, 57 DRs, right? Or if you can get 15x8 plus 30 or 35 T37 SLs, But part of me was like, 15s look so small for my liking. I wanted to go 16s, but everyone's like, oh, 16s look so big on the interior. 16s look so big on the hatch. But when I put them on, I like the way they look. I like it, and that's the thing with the Accord too. Like, my norm is 18-inch because that's when I was slammed, stretch tire, whichever. But having some meat on the tire is what I'm used to with the Civic now, because I haven't had to stretch a tire in 3 or 4 years now. I just had the tire stretched the other day, and I'm just like, shit, we have to use a cheetah for this? Like, right? Like, I didn't even think that the tire that I got was so narrow enough to use a cheetah, but they had to use it, But yeah, I went back to 17s, but I do have some meat on the tires compared to the 205s that I used to run a long time ago. I'm running a 45 series now, but it is stretched ever so slightly just because I got wide ass wheels. Like, I got GTR spec SSR Type Fs, so they're a 17x10 plus 15 offset. Jake's RP ones are 17x10 plus 18. And then I think Alan from San Diego, his XD9s are 10.5 plus 18. So I know they fit, just how much massaging in the fender I need to do.
Yep.
But I don't want to go through debeating narrow 40 or 35 profile tires because I like that comfort of having squishiness. And that's why I felt like 45s were a good factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I looked at Jake's car before he disassembled it for like 3 hours straight, just making sure that this is the fitment that I wanted. And then I kind of just did mind Photoshop because I didn't know how to Photoshop of what the kit would look like on the car. And I'm just like, well, this is it. And then I think 10 minutes later, I came across a photo on HS of Chai's root beer Accord.
The wagon or the sedan?
It was a root beer sedan on CCWs with the same kit.
Badass tires, 225.
Badass tires,
yeah, love it.
Yeah, it looks so good. And then I think I did research onto it, and I think he was running like a 17.8 front and 17x9 rear. And I'm like, all right, I can do with a little bit more stretch, but that track look is what I wanted to look for because, yeah, the medium kit looks good when it's aired down on the floor, but the proper way when they made it is when you can still see the tire and a little bit of wheel gap when they designed that kit. So I figured, you know what, that's the way to go, and that's how I wanted my other sedan to be. It's a little bit more function instead of form.
Careful with the keyboard warriors when you say that track look. They lose their shit.
Not track, but like
track inspired. They lose their shit.
more sporty. That's there. It's a lot more sportier look.
Going back to a lot of people have a lot of opinions about how you do things and what you say. No, but I remember that's so I got tired of that, man. I got tired of the M7s cracking. I got tired of the jet lines. Now looking back, when it came to the jet lines, the reason why I kept going back to that tire size was because I didn't know much about tires. I didn't know much about, massaging things and, how to go about fixing certain stuff. I wasn't on budget, and so um, it got to the point where I was tired of it. So I said, just gonna go to 25, 45, and it gave me that fat look that I was looking for with a little bit of stretch. At the time, I was like, this is awesome, right? And then when I put it on the car, and then I was still able to have some room, I was like, damn, this is cool. But I still like that quote unquote fitment, you know.
Meaty fitment, yeah.
Yeah.
I got used to that from both the Civic and the Integra, because when I had it stretched at that time, it just didn't look right at the height. For me, like if you want a stretched tire, you have to be lip to fender.
Slam
it. You have to.
It looks weird. Well, my personal opinion, it looks weird if it's not like that.
Yeah. So then I was like, you know what? Like it's either meaty or not. So now I'm trying to find that middle ground of how much can I stretch to my comfort. Yeah, stretch to comfort ratio, basically. Yeah. So that's where I'm hoping that everything comes the way I planned it. Well, we'll see when it's done.
That should be fun, man. And so, jumping gears into, I mean, the back, I can see that's an old picture from your sedan. That's, that's a cool little poster in the back end of the wall. I also see a couple of Hot Wheels. Has that collection always been there and then it kind of increased in 2020, or did you kind of got back into it?
Well, the thing is that like I've had a few Hot Wheels, but it was like those, I call them like fantasy castings. So they're the cars that don't really exist in real life. Like toy cars where they look like the Batmobile, or they're like all these funky colors, And then I didn't realize that Hot Wheels started off as actual cars, but it was only until they started doing the cartoons where they started doing like the cartoon fantasy cars, right? So I had a few of like the real cars, but they weren't anything special. But a few of the guys in Fitted, though, they're also Hot Wheels collectors too. And during COVID, they started to get into buying more of these Hot Wheels. And I guess there's a whole side of Hot Wheels that we've just found out that have become more of collector stuff. And it goes from $1 Hot Wheels to thousands of dollars, and it's nuts.
Do you have $1,000?
I have one.
Which one is it? I don't know none of this. That's fine.
So it's cool. So I'll walk you through it. So
I love how you're so excited about this. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so this is my other hobby during COVID when I didn't have anything to build. So they have regular cars that have the regular plastic wheels. They call them main lines. And those are the $1 ones that you can see on Target, Walmart, Ralph's, shelves. And then they have a slightly more expensive version that has actual rubber tires that people like to customize. So those are the ones that you see like Rex 1 from San Diego with the DA, the black four-door DA. He does Hot Wheels customization, so the cars have rubber tires, they camber the wheels out, they do all that type of customization. And then from there, they have like treasure hunts that are more rare to find. So those start anywhere from like $60 or $70 if you find it. But you can buy it for $1 if you find it out in the stores.
So what's like a treasure hunt though? Those come with rubber tires, and then just like a different type of car, different painting, more custom, right?
Yeah. Okay. And then from there, they have like transport cars that come in like the bigger cases like these. They have convention cars that come like you have to attend the convention for that to get it. It's a whole different world of collectors, and there's all these people that nerd out on little tiny cars like this size, And like, yeah, this is just an FK Type R, right?
Whoa, and with the HKS, right?
HKS, right? So this one's like $1, but then they have a treasure hunt version of this that's going for like $100. And
what's the difference between those two?
The wheels look different. It has like sometimes it has a different paint job that's a little bit more like reflective. The wheels are different, and you have to actually look for it to notice the difference. And once you actually find it, it's night and day. And because Fitted though got into it, I got into it more. and it became more of like a, oh, who can find what. So every day on our chat, it's like, oh, I found this today. Oh, I found this today. Oh, does anyone need this? And then it started off with me just having like 10 cars, and I think now I have like almost like 500 cars.
Wow.
It's nuts, dude. And it's that's the other half of the Citadel meets now, is that people come to buy, resell, and trade Hot Wheels. And there's a market for that. People that don't have any modded cars come to Citadel to buy Chick-fil-A or buy In-N-Out and buy Hot Wheels. So it's more than just a modded car thing. It's you have an appreciation, a hobby for vehicles.
So, which one is your golden Hot Wheel? Say you have one.
So the crazy thing is, for some reason, people like skylines, right? So anything as a skyline.
So that's a 34, right?
R34. Anything skyline wise, it's money. But then if you get one from like a convention that you have to get invited to, or if you get one from like this one came from Japan. It's like a Chevy truck. Like all the wording is in Japanese.
How did you get that one?
So I've noticed that I kind of like gambling. So I enter in raffles. I enter in raffles, and someone on Instagram was like, "Look, I'm holding a raffle. It's $1 per ticket, and I'm selling it for like 200 tickets." I think I bought like 5 tickets to that dollar raffle. I ended up winning, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck it, that's cool," Yeah, so it's like I started collecting the regular main lines, and then I started getting into the premium ones with the rubber wheels, and then I guess now you can register as a member for Hot Wheels, I guess, and you have a chance of getting a new Hot Wheel every month that's limited edition. Like sometimes 10,000 pieces or 20,000 pieces, and a lot of people they'll buy it and then they'll resell it for money. So if you have the opportunity to get lucky, your $30 payment could result you in $200 profit
or more.
Or
give it time. I mean,
yeah,
it'll be like it'll be like Pokemon, and
yeah, or like if you're lucky with buying shoes,
sneakers.
Right? Like if you win that raffle for the Travis Scotts, you buy it for $150, but resell on it already is $1,000. It's nuts. So there's a market out there. Thankfully, it's all old guys that will buy a lot of these expensive stuff because they like the car, they like the casting. Like for me, like as much as I hate Nissans, the Datsun 240 is my thing. So like if I find a Datsun 240 on the shelf, like I'll buy it. And there are different versions that come out that are worth more than others. And I think one night at Fitted though, Grady Kenji showed up. Grady Kenji showed up, and Grady has a really big influence with Hot Wheels. A lot of the Hot Wheels stuff will have some sort of Grady marking or Grady logo or influence on the cars. I think like some Kang's cars have been made from a Grady car. Grady Kenji's EF has been made. It's pretty nuts. And I guess for this year's convention, Grady Kenji had the special Grady car, and he brought it to the meet to show everybody. I think like 3 months in advance before it got released. So everyone's all hyped about seeing it. And when I finally got my hands on it, I'm like, wow, this is fucking cool. Like I have that too. But it's insane to see that it's not just a toy. It's collaborations of manufacturers going in on a diecast. Like Magnus Walker has stuff with Hot Wheels. RWD Nakai has stuff with Hot Wheels. And it's just like Hot Wheels become the thing to get into because you buy it as a kid, and then when you get older, that's your tie to your childhood. I think that's why I'm so hyped up about it, because I never thought that I'd ever own all of these ones. This is only a year of collecting.
That's your college tuition for your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and there's always going to be a market for it because these are never going to die. You know, like the cars from like 1990, they're still selling for the same prices that they're going for now. You know?
Yeah. Top three that you're looking for.
I think I have mostly what I need until.
No, you're gonna see something.
The thing is, like, there are new ones coming out every year. So like next year, I'm trying to look for like truck stuff now. Like if I can find like old school Land Cruisers, a Tundra like mine, just to hold personal. I even have one over the board, you know, like my older one, just to feel nostalgic to. I have like the JTCC ones, the green and orange and white one.
But those are non-Hot Wheels, right? Or are they Hot Wheels?
Those are from a company called Inno64, but they're still 1/64th scale diecast that I call it.
Right. Because I have one of those. So I got it from my buddy.
Yeah, and then there's a brand called Moon Eyes that I'm really big into too. So like dealing with all like the old school race cars, I'm collecting a lot of those too. So like Ralph, I kind of want to build like an old school car after I finish with the Accord.
Ooh, tell us.
I after hanging around with like family and looking into all this Moon Eyes stuff, getting into like an old classic vehicle, I think is going to be like the next step of project cars because now it's not the market's a little bit more limited with those because you don't have the opportunity or place to buy those stuff. You have to do it yourself, you know, and doing that while juggling a life with a family is what takes the process so long. You know, I really like old school Chevy trucks, the single cab C10 or like a Ford F100.
What years? Because the C10s are beautiful in so many different years. Started from the
like 56, 58.
Love it.
Right? Yeah, sure. The sting was really close to me, so it might hit my stomach because I'm kind of chubby now.
Who cares?
But it's fine, right? But that's like you have to fabricate your own 4-link system in the rear. You have to notch your own frame or find a place to do it. If you do put it on air, you have to customize that air system around the suspension. How are you gonna tub the rear? How are you gonna tub the front? What engine are you gonna run? You know, it's a whole nother level. And I've been going to a lot of those old classic car shows now.
Oh, that will do it for you, buddy.
Compared to the newer cars now, because you will never see another car like two of the same ones at the same meet. Everything is always different. You know, one will be patina, one will be rat rod or like rusted out. You know, another one will have candy paint job. Another one will just be pastel. You know, it's wheel choices. You might run those like chip cruise wheels. You might have the moon disc. You know, or you might have American Racing Wear. So many options. You know, and then what's under the hood? It could just be the straight six that's original, just rebuilt, or you can have a a short block Chevy motor,
LS
swap. You know, anything is possible. You know,
and it's sub 75 too, so you don't worry about the smog.
Yeah, or you might have a case swap fucking Chevy. I don't know. Like,
no, yeah, why not?
Possibilities are endless. You know, like, and I respect those builds just because there's so much time and like consideration put into those builds. You know, if I can get to that level of perfection like Ralph is one day, that's end goal. You know, because we already see how intricate his Accord is. Can you imagine that Cadillac when he's done? Whenever that's done.
Whenever that's done, because that's what it is.
It's whenever it is done.
It's a pro and a con that you're so detail oriented because sometimes, but I think he deals with time and patience much better than I do because I'm very impatient. I would want to.
Me too. Yeah, especially because I acquired all the parts of the Accord in less than 2 weeks.
That's bad, dude. Okay, your words. That's bad.
And that's what I fear is that when I at least sit down to do that old school car in the future, I don't want to rush it. I want to enjoy the process of it. And it's just I have to accept that it's gonna sit for 5, 10 years until it's done instead of I'm gonna finish a car in 3 weeks, you know. So
But you want a truck though, right?
yeah, a truck for sure because I really like the way they look when it's slammed to the floor, restored inside and out, and I just black, gray, simple colors. You know, I like it so much. You know? There's something about like brand new chrome just looks so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's end game. That's end game. Maybe 10 years from now, we don't know. But that's end game is to do one of those.
I mean, welcome to the club. I mean, that's where I'm at right now too. You know, I think I've really set my eyes on the 63 Impala. And it's funny though because I've been saying I want the 63, but then there was a 59 that popped up on Craigslist, and it was decently priced, you know, for 59. And then I started looking at that one. I was like, damn, do I really want to go that route? But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna stick with the 63. I mean, even this morning, I was like, man, should I go for a Datsun 620? Like all these different ideas, but I think that's where I'm at. That's why a lot of people when they tag me on that exhaust system, and I get a lot of DMs, dude. Like people are super supportive. They're like, hey, bro, I thought of you because they come across like different, you know, just people that are selling stuff, and they know that I'm a huge support, you know. And they say, I'm like, I'm not in the market for that. Oh, those are cool piece. I'm just not in the market for this. I'm not in the market because I think in the back of my head, I'm very content where the cars are at. Like Rosie looks great. Like she has clear code issues, but there's days that I'm like, yeah, I should respray her. But then there's days I'm like, I don't want to put more money into none of this because I think I just want to go buy that Impala. So you just gotta be patient.
Yeah. And the thing is, I like about these older like shows, car meets. I went to one in Temecula, I think last week, and then as much as the cars that are there to be displayed and showed off of what you've done, there's also a lot of stock cars that are up for sale. You know, so I think I saw like a Chevy pickup. It was an early '60s Chevy pickup. That one like 10 grand. And I was like, that's a good platform to start with. You know, or like I saw there's like a older Ford. I don't know what model it was. I walked by it really fast, but I think he wanted like 12 grand. And it becomes like a swap meet for people to sell these cars that attend. Not only for you to show off what you have, but
Mhm.
buy or sell something that's there too. You know.
But what is the ultimate build that you would want? Like if you were to say like this is the car that I want, you don't have a clear direction.
I for sure just want a single cab pickup truck because I just like that body shape. But as far as which one to pick, that's the hard one. Because I honestly don't know. Because if I had a choice, I'd buy all of them. But I
Oh
can't.
yeah, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, because for me, the 63 is definitely the car that I like just because of the grill and the back of it. Um, but there's something about the 50s that, oh, I mean, I have no idea how like manufacturers made money back then because the time and effort that it took to create like the cat eye on the Impalas and just some other type of like the Chevy trucks, the early models. There's so much stuff that they did that I mean, there's those grills on even some Cadillacs. Like, there's just so much detail that went into them that for an old car, anything past 70s, like, I'm not interested because then they start looking more like what we have now in the 90s. If that makes sense, you know. And so the 50s, I mean, 40s, I wouldn't mess with just because that's way too old for me. 50s is the bugs and things like that. I think that's like the sweetest of 40s, 50s, 30s. I mean, too, I guess, of engineering and designing. It's just wild. 60s, even then, that they're like, oh, you're starting to look more like regular car.
Like I consider like 50 cars are like the 90 cars of yesterday.
Yeah.
They had it right at 59, and then a little bit subtle from 60 to like 80, then 90 to 99 is just like hot boy car again. It's like the best gear. I think Joey Lee said that too in his video. Like, there's nothing like a '90s car. There's also nothing like a '50s car. You know? So it's like they both have a place in my heart where I want to do something like that. You know. So
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I hope all that bill with the truck comes true, man. I think it will, but just finish the cord, and you have a lot of cars, man. So you gotta get a bigger driveway.
Yeah. Yeah. So thankfully, I have the truck doesn't fit in the garage, so I just stayed outside. So at least I have garage space for the Accord and the Z. So
DJ, man, this has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Like, I know that this is not your thing, and that you're really pushing yourself. Honestly, you did great, man. You're like, super supportive. Um, you're actually one of the main guys that I really felt like, in a weird way, had a friendship with you online because whenever I would post something on Honda Society, you always left, even if it was like a single word comment, like you always, and again, back then it meant more than it means now because I really was, I guess, almost like getting affirmation or, appreciation and
that's when we all started out. Yeah, exactly. That's basically our roots, you know.
yeah. So, thank you for being so supportive even back in 2011, 2012. And, now throughout, like seeing you just, still keeping in contact with you, even though you bought a Civic and you bought all these different things, you still somehow involved. And so, it goes to show that you can create a friendship out of a car and then continue even if they get rid of that car. And I'm so glad that you came back to the core because you're going to kill it. Like, it's going to look great, man.
I hope so. I think driving home from San Diego that day when I picked up the car was just so nostalgic. It's just like it felt right, even though the AC didn't work and it was hot as shit that day. Like sweating balls in the car. It was.
It's an Accord, of course.
A comfortable hour and 20-minute drive home. And it makes me happy that I drive the car every day to work because paying $25 a week in gas is a blessing compared to the Z and the Tundra. So that's why I hope to keep it dailyable, but looking nice. Because I feel like if Corbin can do it dailyable and it looks nice, it all matters about how you drive at the end of the day. And I just have to make sure I don't drive behind any like big rigs that kick up dirt or rocks. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but you're cruising at 91. Something's bound to happen.
I know. Yeah, and it's just a small little stretch until I get on the toll road because I'm fortunate to take the toll road every day to work.
But that little stretch, dude, that will do it. That's freaking 91.
That 7-mile stretch will wreck the car.
Yeah, man. So like I said, man, I really appreciate your time. I know you got off from work, and so time for both of us to go eat and get some rest, man. But keep at it. I can honestly say I've liked all the directions that you take in your builds, and that's we have similar tastes. Obviously, you're a much better build than I am, but I definitely appreciate it, man. I appreciate you, appreciate your time, appreciate your friendship, man. And like I said, man, anything that you need, just let me know. The core community is small, but it seems like we're pretty strong and we're really willing to help each other out.
I appreciate it. And thanks for helping me bust through my fear of public speaking. Yeah, because I didn't realize that we'd be talking for this long, and
it get like 20 minutes and then we're done.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to hold a conversation for that long,
It's funny because I can go for more, but I think placing someone in a different environment that they're not used to, I'm like, dude, I got 2 hours with him. Like, that's a lot, But when this conversation flows, there's other topics that I could touch, base on, but I also want to be respectful of your time. And so that's what it is, like it's a conversation. It's just, it's about you. It's about your build. It's about, I think honestly, the whole entire conversation that we had, the most light up that you got was when you talked about Hot Wheels. And that's what it goes, like you go to different things. I know you like to eat. We can discuss about food. So there's so much to talk about. And I think that's what I use these conversations for, just to have a chat. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, hopefully this conversation is still there. Maybe you have your truck. Maybe you have a 8-year-old kid that listens to it. It's like, oh, grandpa had this car. Now my dad has this car. Shit, maybe I'm gonna go get myself a car too. Like, it's just weird, like how things age. And you just said it. And when you first started the conversation, we're like, yeah, man, that was over 11, 10 years ago. From Honda Society, it's like, what? Like, where did the time go? I just did a build thread, and now 10 years later, now we're sitting here having a chat about it, and we're both in different stages of life, but we're both talking about 90s Accords still, like, building those things. It's crazy.
All right. So,
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, DJ, thank you so much, man. Get some rest. We'll catch you at the next Fidelio meet. Hopefully, it doesn't get shut down. Hopefully, they can.
or the actual interview of the car when I finally finish it.
I didn't want to bring it up. I know you guys said that we were going to interview on the Civic, and then all of a sudden it's like the car sold. I was like,
It sold before I could. I'm sorry.
nah, you're good. No rush. I mean, you just made time for everybody else, but I'm not going to say anything.
I'll make it up to you with the Accord. I know you want to interview that more.
Yeah. Single jingle. All right, DJ, thank you so much, man, for your time. I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who stood by and listened to DJ's awesome collection of Hot Wheels. As you can tell, this yeah, man, this is space not just for cars, but for just stories and memories, man. So thank you, and hopefully maybe in the future you come back.
Appreciate it.
Man, thank you.